Kia ora, I'm Matua Jeff from OMG Tech, and today is Wacky Hair Day, so we're going to make some wacky hair. Yay! So the first thing we're going to do is open up a new tab, and do a search for Scratch Lab. Scratch Lab. And then, once we've found that, we're going to go to the face sensing link. And then click try it out. And here it might pop up a little box at the top of your browser saying that lab.scratch.mit.edu wants to use your camera and allow or block. You say allow. Now what this does is it just allows Scratch to view your camera, the video feed that's coming in from the camera that's on your laptop. Now, it's not recording anything, okay? It's not sending any data to anybody. It's just showing you exactly what the camera is seeing. Now, some of you will have seen Scratch before. This is a little bit like Scratch. It's very similar. There's a few different details. This is Scratch Cat here. Now, I don't actually need Scratch because we're going to draw our own characters or our own sprites. So I'm going to click on the rubbish bin to remove Scratch Cat. And then we're going to make some here. So the first thing we do is go down to this icon where it says choose a sprite, but we're not going to choose a sprite. We're going to go up to paint because we're going to paint our own hair. So let's draw. I'm going to click on fill first of all to choose the color of my hair. I think today I'll go for a pink. Let's go for pink. And I'll click on the brush icon. Now you can see that's really quite tiny. So I might increase the size of that to something like that. And now I can just draw some hair. Yeah, how's that looking? I think I need to put like something like that on. How's that? That's kind of okay. It almost looks like antlers, like horns. So the next thing we need to do is position it up on top of my head. Now, the problem with that, putting it up there, is that it doesn't follow my head. But this is where Scratch Labs face sensing blocks come in. If I click on the code tab in the top left corner, it shows me all these blocks which I can use to detect my face. That's the clever thing about this. It's using something called machine learning to detect where my eyes, mouth, nose, top of my head, ears are. And it's done this because somebody has trained up a computer using millions of images of people's faces so that it knows what a face looks like and can detect those sorts of things. So I get this starter block. You can tell it's a starter block because it's got this little hump on top. It says when a face is detected, I want the sprite to go to the top of my head. So I'll go and get this very first block, which says go to nose. Now, obviously, I don't want it to go to my nose. Or let's see what that looks like, though. There we go. I don't want it to go to my nose. So I'm going to click on the little triangle that's next to it and select top of head. There, that's better. So now we've got the top of head, but it's still not following my head. So what we need to do is tell Scratch to go to the top of my head, take the sprite to the top of my head over and over and over and over again. So it's just constantly running that little bit of code. Now, fortunately in Scratch, we have a block that does that. It's in the orange control category, and it's called a forever block. Now you can see with this forever block, it's got a space in the middle where we can put code that we want to run forever. So if I hover over my bit of code there, it actually just puts it in, which is really handy. So now if I click on the green flag, look what happens. It's following my head, which is very cool. But we can do even better, because look what happens when I go back and forward. It stays the same size, whereas my head gets bigger if I get closer to the camera. So we want this to do the same, and it allows us to do this. So I'll go back to the face sensing category and set the size, grab this block that says set size to face size. So now if I come all the way back here, it gets smaller. And as I get closer, it gets bigger. It's probably a bit big at the moment. Now, the other thing that we can do is look what happens when I tilt my head. It's not going with my head. It's not turning. So there's another block here that's point in the direction of the face tilt. So now, if I turn, my hair turns. Right, now as I said, the hair is a bit big, so let's fix that. I'm going to click on the arrow, the cursor, and just reduce the size and bring it back down to that little center point. Yeah, that's kind of okay. I think it needs to maybe just go over this way a little bit. Maybe be a little bit bigger. You can play around with this as much as you like. Yep, I'm happy with that. Okay, now that's pretty cool, but let's make it even cooler. Let's make it so that we can change our hair color. So to do this, we need to add some more costumes. So I'm going to right click. So that means if you're on a laptop or you're using a mouse, the button that's on the right, you click that on the costume over on the left-hand side, and it pops up this thing, and we select duplicate, which means to make a copy of that. So you can see it makes a second costume, and now all I need to do is click my hair, click fill, and change the color. Voila! So let's make another costume. So I've got 3 different hair colors. So I go back to it, right click, click on duplicate, click the hair color, click fill, and this time, what should I make the hair color? Blue? Maybe light blue? Let's go with that. That's pretty good. Cool, so now we need to code it. And for this particular code, we are going to need to use an event, which is the yellow category. And this particular event is when this sprite is clicked. So I grab that when the sprite clicked block, which is a starter block, and you'll notice that all these events are starter blocks because they run when something happens, like when a key is pressed or the flag is pressed. So when the sprite is clicked, we're going to change and go to the next costume. Now, because costumes are like clothes and it's about how we look, it's going to be under the looks category. So I go to next costume, drag that and drop it underneath when the sprite is clicked, like this. So now if I click, it changes my hair color. Cool, eh? And I click this little thing to get back. All right, so that's great, but we can do even better. Now I'm going to add some facial hair. You might like to do ears or something, but I'm going to do like a little moustache. So I'm going to go back to my choose a sprite and I'm going to click on paint to make a new sprite. And this time I think I'm going to try and do a browny color for my moustache, maybe a darkish brown like that. So I click on the brush icon and then I'm going to click on the magnifying glass to get a little bit closer and go up and down and up and down and up and down and around, because my moustache is going to have a little twirl in it. How does that look? That's okay. I might need to change the size of it. Let's see. I'll click on it and just reduce it. Drag it back to the middle. How's that looking? That looks okay. So let's code it. Now, the cool thing about coding this is that we can actually use the exact same code that we used for our hair. And I don't need to do it again. All I need to do is grab this code, drag it down, and wait for that sprite to give a little wiggle and then drop it on the sprite. So now it's copied it to my moustache. And as you can see, I've got the moustache on the top of my head. So I want to change that. So I'll click it to go to my mouth. There. That looks pretty good. Again, I'm going to reduce the size because I think it's a little bit big and reposition it. Whoops. How's that? That kind of looks okay. So let's make a few more colors. Remember, you right click and duplicate, and right click and duplicate, and click on your thing and then change the color. I'm going to go with a yellow this time because I quite like yellow. Make it super bright. Oh, look at that. Gorgeous. And finally, I'll do another one. Let's make it red. Red. Yeah. All right, so now we need the code that changes it. So I'll go back to my hair code, grab that block of code and just drop it onto my moustache sprite. And now it's copied it. So when I click on moustache or the hair, it changes. Pretty cool, eh? So now I want to save my code. So because this is Scratch Lab and not Scratch, we can't log in and it can't save it automatically. We need to save it manually, and that means going and clicking the File menu up the top here. So you click on it and then go to Save to your computer. Then click I understand, and you'll see that it downloads to your computer. So now, whenever I reload this page and click Try it out, you'll see that it's back to the old Scratch Cat code. So now I can load it up from my computer. Just find that file which I downloaded, click OK, and voila, I've got it back. Yay! So I hope you have lots of fun making the wacky hair and sharing it with all your friends. Ka kite anō!